You're listening to the Laura the Library Lady podcast, presented by the Massillon Public Library.
Hi, it's Laura the Library Lady coming to you from the Duncan House basement studio here at the Massillon Public Library with another local author, Margaret Cooper. Welcome, Margaret.
Thank you.
As a local author from our area, can you talk a little bit about your background and where you're from?
Well, I was born and raised in Ohio, in Stowe, and I graduated from Cuyahoga Falls High School.
Oh, very good.
I won't tell you when.
But they're also the Tigers, so you must have a familiarity here.
I mentioned that to my husband the other day. I said, as a young person, I grew up and graduated from a school whose mascot was a tiger, and I wound up living in my retirement in another town where Tiger is
Tiger
the
Town.
mascot. Yeah.
Yeah. Very good. Well, how did you get your start in writing?
I don't know. I was 10 years old when I started writing poetry.
Oh, wow.
And what's interesting is that a number of years ago, when my mother passed away, and I was going through her things, I found a notebook that my grandmother had kept that she would cut out poetry from famous authors and paste in this little notebook. And in the middle of the notebook, I found one of my first poems in my handwriting that she had cut out and pasted in amongst Edgar Guest and the St. Vincent Millay. She must have had some kind of faith in me. I don't know.
She must have. That's
but
very inspiring.
I have probably 3 or 4 of those handwritten poems that I've still kept.
Did you write any limericks? Because I wrote some limericks when I was about 10.
No, just poetry, and I didn't do any stories really. Probably until my late teens.
Okay.
And none of those survived.
Oh.
But I treasure those early poems.
And now what types of things do you write?
I write poetry. I'm working on, I just finished my first novel, which is called Tremont Meadow. And I have 2 manuscripts. The first rough draft is finished for both of them. They're both novels. This novel is something, I don't know if this genre exists, but I've named it Senior Chicklet.
I love that.
Well,
I think that does exist, or it does now.
Well, that came about because my mother-in-law lived in a senior facility where they had a library that the ladies and the gentlemen could go get books out of.
Sure.
And they were so tired of reading authors. I call them bodice rippers.
Right. We know what those
They
are.
have a heroine, a hero. The plots don't deviate very much from one another. And they're all the same, and they're written for younger people that like that kind of thing. And one of the ladies said, why doesn't somebody write something that us older ladies could be interested in? And so out of that comment, I started thinking, and that's where this novel Tremont Meadow came from. It's a senior chicklet. It has mystery, romance. I won't spoil the plot and tell you,
Very good.
Yes,
I
anything
appreciate
crucial.
that.
But it's about a bunch of old people that wind up living in a senior facility together and having adventures. And the main character is a lady named Bertie. Bertie was 5 years old when her mother disappeared, and nobody knew where she went. So then her father finished raising her on his farm in a remote area in Sarasota County, Florida, back in the early 30s and the late 20s. And I used to take care of people in their homes, and I ran into a lady who very much was like Bertie. She didn't talk well. She was uneducated, very innocent, very naive. She was delightful.
Oh.
And she's kind of who Bertie is based on, but this character lives her whole life without her mother. And she's always very sad because she thinks her mother went away and left her and
So that's the mystery?
didn't want her.
Oh.
Yes. And so eventually she marries a young man that she meets at church of all places because her father keeps her very isolated from everyone.
Sheltered.
And she's neglected. She's verbally abused. He smacks her around a little bit when she's a little girl.
Oh, my goodness.
And she grows up thinking basically that nobody wants her. And when her young husband dies in an accident, her father marries her off to an older neighbor.
Oh.
And she lives the rest of her life up until the point where the story starts. And from that point on, Bertie's whole life changes. And the story follows Bertie as she finds herself, as she grows as a person. And without saying a whole lot more, you'll have to buy the book.
Oh, my goodness. Sounds intriguing.
Yeah.
Now, is that the one you're going to read us a little bit of?
Yes.
Do you want to do that now?
Sure.
I'd love to hear it.
Okay. To kind of lead up to this, Bertie makes a new friend, one of her new friends, Maxine. And she and Maxine are on their way someplace, and as they're driving, they have a conversation. And in that conversation, Bertie asks Maxine if she will help her accomplish a couple things, a couple goals that she's set for herself, which is what I like about Bertie, in spite of the hard time she's had. She comes through it better than a lot of us would have. And when she starts to find out about the world and what it's really like, she sets some goals for herself. One of her goals, she's talking to Maxine about, and she asks Maxine if she would help her. And Maxine says, "You know I will, Bertie. Anything you need that I can help with, I will. How soon do you want to move?" Because Bertie finds herself in a place where she has to move. "If you want, you're welcome to stay with me as long as you need to, until we find a permanent place for you. Shoot, I always enjoy good company, and you're about the best I've had at my place since the last time it snowed in Florida." "I appreciate it, Maxine. I like being around you, and we're getting on real good, so I'll stay with you for a while, and I thank you. The other decision I made, I'm going to go to school somewhere. I don't know nothing about how a body my age could go to school, but I figure with all this money I'm going to have now, I can pay for me to get a teacher to help me learn to talk better and read better than I do. I love books, Maxine. I had some when I were real young. They was books for young'uns who was just learning to read, but I read them books over and over until they fell apart. I asked my daddy could he get some new ones for me, but he said, what's a girl need to be reading for? He said I should just stick to doing the work I had to do around the place. He stopped me going to school when I were about 8 years old. The school sent people out to the house to check up on me, but he always took me out with him to the fields early of the morning, so when the school people showed up, there weren't nobody home. Lunchtime, he brought me back to the house so I could do my chores and fix us something to eat. By and by, the school people didn't come around no more. It were farm company, and most of the kids back then had to help with the plant and all. I guess they figured what's one more little girl out of all them other kids don't come to school. When the books I had left from them days wore out, Daddy throwed 'em out, and I never had no more after that, except for my mama's Bible. I couldn't read most of them big words, and the ones I could read I didn't understand.
Very interesting. I like the dialect and everything.
Yeah. I'm going to cut it a little short because it's pretty long, but after they're through talking about the school, Bertie says to Maxine, there's one plan I ain't told you about yet. I'm excited about it, but I'm also dreading it. I know my mama is probably gone to glory by now, but she were somewhere after she left me with my daddy and went away. I want to find out where she been all them years. That's where I'm going to need you most to help me find my mama. It's a good thing we was at the diner by now, 'cause here in my last plan, Maxine's eyes was so full of tears, I don't think she could have seen to keep driving.
Oh, my goodness. I love that.
Thank you.
So Tremont Meadow, and that's coming out when?
It's going to print any day.
Awesome. And where's that going to be available?
It will be available on Amazon and Kindle, as
Neat.
well as
Locally?
anybody that wants a copy, I'll have them.
And you're going to be appearing at our local author fair here in November. So
I am.
That's going to be one place folks can
Yes.
meet you and purchase that book.
Yes.
Now, you were kind of talking a little bit about the character that you modeled, Birdie, after a woman that you knew. Do you find yourself often doing that, or is that something that you kind of stay away from?
No, not always. My other two that are in the works, one is a story of the Apostle John the Beloved, when he asked Jesus, well, Jesus asked him and the other disciples, what would you like? I'll grant you whatever you like. And the others all say, we want to die and come to heaven and be with you. And John says, no, I want to stay on earth and win souls for you for as long as I can. And so Christ grants John that wish. And so, according to the scriptures, John is out there wandering around somewhere winning souls for Christ. And so it's the story of him and his adventures in the world, never dying, showing up from place to place, doing things for people.
Oh, that's very interesting. Ooh.
And in research for that manuscript, I came across quite a number of people who have had experiences with someone who showed up to help them in a time of need, only to disappear very quickly.
Yeah, you do hear about those
Yeah,
cases.
they're all over. People, I was amazed at how many testimonies I found of people who had experiences like that. So that's what that one is about. I don't know that I know they say that when you write, there's always a lot of you in your writing.
Yeah, do you see that?
And I think that's true. In our writing group, we've talked here at the library, we've talked a number of times about how much of yourself is in your writing.
Okay.
And one or the other of them have said, oh, I go back and read it, and I say, oh, that's me.
So without even realizing
Right.
that you do that,
Right.
it might be natural. Well, what do the words writer's block mean to you?
I don't know. I seldom have it.
Oh, that's good.
I think I've waited so long to start writing seriously that I have all this stuff stored in my brain to write about. And so I just, well, like I say, I have 3 manuscripts going right now. This one and 2 others. I never seem to lack for something to write about.
So you haven't experienced that. That's a good thing.
Right, right.
And I do see you also have a children's book, The Christmas House.
I do.
Tell us a little bit about that. It's a picture book.
The Christmas Horse.
I'm sorry.
This is the story. The back cover blurb says, Rebecca wants a horse for Christmas, but not for the same reason most little girls want a horse. Discover what happens after she writes a special letter to Santa. This is a story about a little girl who is in foster care. Rebecca is, and of course I don't state her exact age, but she's somewhere between the age of 9 and 12. And she's missing her mama very much. And so this is the story of Rebecca and her experience in a foster home with people who want to adopt her, and 2 little boys who will become her permanent brothers if she allows them to adopt her.
I see. Okay.
And so, yeah.
Nice picture book with illustrations by Lisa Bohart, I see.
Right.
And is that one available on Amazon as well?
It also is on Amazon. It won't be on Kindle because it's an illustrated children's book, and Kindle has trouble putting books on that have so many illustrations
Sure.
in them,
Yeah, that's
especially in
understandable.
color.
Right.
So, but you can buy it A couple of my books, The Christmas Horse, even sold at a German website called Buchwald, I believe it was, which was a
Book
surprise.
Forest, Buchwald.
Yeah.
That's
So,
amazing.
but you can buy it on all of the major Barnes and Nobles, Amazon.
That's wonderful. That's just so inspiring. Nowadays
Thank
you can
you.
get your writings onto those platforms.
Yes.
So, Margaret, do you have a website or a Facebook page or anything that you want to direct folks to if they have questions about you or want to learn some more?
Yes, you can. My website it was up and running, and we had some problems with it, so it's in the process of being renovated right now, but it stays the same. It's www.cooperbooks.com.
Just cooperbooks.com.
Yes, and my email is cooperbooks72@yahoo.com.
So people can contact you if they have any questions or
They
want to
can.
purchase anything.
Yes.
And as we said, Margaret's going to be here at the Massillon Public Library, and she is part of our writers group. So if anybody out there is interested in our writing programs and things that we have here, feel free to contact the library. And Margaret, I want to thank you so much for coming in. It's been a pleasure to speak with you and look forward to seeing you again. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Laura. It was great to be here.
Hey everyone, this is Jeff, and I hope you enjoyed listening to the Laura the Library Lady podcast. Join us for the local author book fair on Saturday, November 11th, 2023, from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. This event is open to all and is held twice a year in both March and November. Browse, purchase books, meet, and network with local authors. Visit massillonlibrary.org for more information. Hope to see you there.